For those of you standing in the rear, there are some seats are available in front. Please come forward and be seated. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to announce the session open. I am Dr. Kim, the president of Yonsei University, and am the chairman of this session. The subject of this session is Renovating Leading Universities to Accommodate Future Changes. France has a long history and tradition in higher education, whereas Dubai has recently built international academic city. We can learn different lessons through these contrast cases. We have two presentations and one panel discussion in this session. We'll allow 20 to 25 minutes for the presentation of each speaker and 10 minutes for the panel discussion. Then there will be 10 minutes for floor discussion. If the speakers can complete their presentation within the allotted time, this will leave us with the rest of time for floor discussion. The first speaker of this session is Jean-Robert Pitt, and his title is French Higher Education, a Renovation in Progress. He is former president, University of Paris Sorbonne. His experience in education includes a professorship at the University of Paris Sorbonne, teaching geography and acting as head of regional affairs at the French Ministry of Higher Education and Research. Dr. Pitt is also the author of History of French Landscape, a discourse on how human activity has reshaped the environment. Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Jean-Robert Pitt. Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Effectively, I'm former president of Paris Sorbonne. I ran until last month of March. Then now, I'm in sabbatical year. That's why I'm very free to speak about my university, about my country, about the European system. I'm quite critic after 5 years of presidence. I think we have very much to change. I know that in many countries, the universities are changing. In Germany, in Britain, in Korea, in Japan, in America even. Everybody think that it must be better for the future. And the problem is that in France, we are a little bit conservative. Then I will try to explain how we can change, why we must change absolutely for the future of, not only for future of France, but future of the world. All the universities must be in a very quick evolution because globalization obliges us to change. The first idea, the problem of universities in France, I'm sorry to begin by the word problem, but the problem is that we have two higher education systems in France and they are in concurrence. First is universities, as everywhere in the world, they have monopoly in research, they have very highly selected professors, I can say, but they have not enough money and they have not enough relations with the employment market. This is a very big problem. And of course, the main problem is that selection is forbidden at entrance of universities. It's forbidden by the law. And the other side of higher education is grandes écoles. I don't say high school because high school means secondary schools in English. Then grandes écoles, they are very highly selective, very close of employment market, and for many of them, they are very expansive. Why such a duality in the French system? It's a very long story, a very old story. It began before the French Revolution. It began at the end of what we call Ancien Régime, the period of the kings. There was a problem of relation between the state and universities, mainly Sorbonne, which is one of the oldest universities in the world, created 750 years ago. And the state, the king, decided to create some specialized schools of higher education, but specialized, for example, for the shipbuilding, for arts and manufacturing, for mining, etc., and for agronomy. During the Napoleon era, beginning of 19th century, Napoleon tried to unify the academic system and to create 3 higher education levels: baccalaureate, licence, bachelor, or doctorat, PhD. The baccalaureate is officially, still now, 200 years after the creation of this diploma by Napoleon, is still the first university diploma. Unfortunately, the universities have absolutely no right on this diploma. This diploma is prepared in high schools and prepared in relation with professors of high school. But when a young French has the baccalaureate, he is allowed to come in at university without any more selection. And this is, I will explain one of the problems. During 19th century, many grandes écoles were created. You have the list here. I don't want to explain, but many, you see, from 1816, a second school of mining, to 1894 with the school of power, electricity, and many other ones in many fields. For example, one of the most important still now in France, created in 1871, is the École Libre des Sciences Politiques, political science school, we call Sciences Po. It's very famous, very selective at the entrance, and most of the students who are graduated from Sciences Po find very easily a job or can come in the National School of Administration, created in 1945, which is the most important school with very few students, 200 a year, preparing the entrance in the high French administration and political life. And but very few, the problem is that very few politics today in France are coming from universities. They are coming from grandes écoles, and many of them are coming from this school, École Nationale d'Administration. More than half of the ministers of the French government, left and right, it depends, no difference, are coming from this school and not from universities. And I will... why is it a problem? Because universities are, how to say, emptied by such a large concurrence. Because it's crazy, but it's the only country in the world, and I can say very freely, I spoke here 2 years ago, I couldn't speak very frankly because I was president. Now I'm no more. Then I say, it's a scandal. We are the only system where the universities with very good professors cannot choose their students, then cannot offer to their students the possibility, the security to have a job when they are graduated. This is the big problem of French system. And the grandes écoles are very advantaged by the recruitment. They choose their students with a very competitive examination. And the examination is prepared 2 years after the baccalaureate in special high schools we call class préparatoire, with very good professors and intensive work. And very, they are cocooned, I could say. This is a cocooning system. The grandes écoles have large buildings, comfortable, large libraries. They look to the good universities of this country, to the good universities of America, of Britain, of all the countries. They are large, They have a lot of money. The cost of a student in a Grande École is about 20,000 and 40,000 euros. It means 30 or $60,000. It's quite the same price as in the good American universities. This is the cost, not for the students, for the state or for private companies, but the students accept to pay. In most of them, they accept to pay, as everywhere in the world. Not in universities, it's free of charge. Teaching is very good, of course, quality of pedagogy. Some professors are permanent of these grandes écoles. Some other ones are working in private companies, and they are very good too. But there is a problem in these grandes écoles. And this problem is one of the main French problems, I have to say. There is not real research in these grandes écoles. And how is it possible to have an efficient higher education without a strong link with research? The only secret of the success of America, of your country, Korea, of many countries in the world, is that the elite in economy, in politics, in management, comes from universities where there is a high-level teaching, but also a high level of research. A lecture given by a professor who is a good researcher is a lecturer who gives questions to the students. The professor can say, you know, this problem, we have the response. This is sure. But on this part of the question, we are not sure. You will, maybe, when you will prepare your PhD, you will find the solution, but it's not sure. In the high school, secondary school, or grandes écoles, the teaching is not enough related with the questionment, with the research. And this is one of the problems in France. That's why many of the good students of grandes écoles are coming after they finish in universities to prepare a PhD or an MBA, because research is in universities. You see, the number of students, university, 1,300,000 students, and grandes écoles, 400,000. It's 1 to 4, the proportion. This is the problem. And these our universities, and as mine, has unfortunately many students who are in undergraduate, the first year of university, and they are not at the level. They should be in colleges, technical colleges, but there are not enough places in the technical colleges. You see the third and the fourth category, STS, short technical formations in high schools, or EUT, short technical formations in university. They are very good systems. It looks to the American colleges, but only 300,000 students. And it would be necessary to have 300,000 students in good universities selected at the entrance, and 1 million in the technical colleges. And the problem is this proportion, which is not right, and very, very difficult to change by the French mentality. And the consequence is that when you look at this map, it's not very easy to comment in detail. There are too many universities in France. We have 85 universities. It's easy to understand. We have 1,300,000 students to welcome. Then there are 85 universities. In all the small towns, there is a university, but the level is not enough. There are very good universities in the great city, and of course in Paris, in Lyon, in Marseille, but in the small cities, it's middle category. But the level official of diploma is exactly the same, because we are not allowed to create a hierarchy between universities and grandes écoles. In universities, then, the advantages, the qualities are quality of research, appearance of democratization. I don't think it's real democratization, because the price is very, very cheap, 170 euros of fees of registration. It's nothing. And the students have many advantages for food, for grants to have a private flat. They have many advantages. And the problem is that the baccalaureate has not a real value today. Too many young French have the baccalaureate, and they have not the level, I have to say. And the students don't want to come in a process of evaluation of their capacities to be good students in the higher education, then the consequence is that many of them who are not at the level to go in the grandes écoles are coming in universities and they fail. They fail. For example, in my university, first year, at the end of first year, we eliminate 72% of the students. Then is it democracy? No. I think democracy could be a very good selection orientation at the entrance. And the young student should be in the best university in function of his level. But it's not possible at the moment by the law. This is the problem. And how it is free of charge. Some students, not so much, but 15%, maybe 20%, are at university without coming. They have the card with the advantages, social security, medicine, restaurants, but they don't come. It doesn't cost anything, 170 euros, it's nothing. And this is one of the problems of this system, completely blocked by politics. Not by the political class, but by the society. The French society doesn't want to change too quickly. And that's why also universities have a strong lack of money, and the cost of a student is only 7,000 euros per year. It's nothing compared to grandes écoles, 20,000, 40,000. And the universities have very poor performances in the international classifications, as Shanghai University Classification or Times Higher Education. We are not in good situation because the best students are not in universities. The best professors are in universities, but not the best students. And if we can't join both, it's impossible to have the good classification. That's why. Because in reality, in spite of these problems, I should say that the masters in French universities and the PhD, we call doctoral schools, are of high level. And in many academic meetings in the world, French academics are very good in science, in medicine, in humanities, in law. This year we had a Nobel Prize in medicine. Every 5 years we have a Nobel Prize in physics or in chemical. That it's not so bad. But the problem is not in the level of researchers, of academics. It's in the difference of level between the undergraduate students and the system. Then a law was voted just after the election of Nicolas Sarkozy, the new president of France since last year. Just after his election, in August 2007, the law changed a little bit the system, not too much. In my opinion, not enough. I told to many ministers of this government, please do a little bit more. It's just the beginning of the election of President Sarkozy, and don't be afraid by the students in the streets. But everybody, all the ministers, all the politics, were so afraid that 1 million students are in the streets breaking everything, because if we introduce selection or increasing the fees. And the problem is that it's half a reform, I have to say. Then there is larger autonomy on the budget, for example, global budget. But selection is still forbidden, and increase of fees is also forbidden by the law. Then the two main reforms necessary for France are not allowed by the law. But there are some good things. For example, orientation at the entrance is compulsory. All the pupils coming from high schools must go send documents with their quotation in the high school in order to know if they are at the level to be a good student in university. But if the university say, no, you have not the level, they can register. We can't forbid them to come in. But it's good to have this evaluation at the entrance. It's a good point of the law. We have also the possibility to find private financement by foundations, as in many countries in the world. But the problem is that if the universities don't change their mind and open their mind in direction of private economy, of private companies, of course, never the private companies will give money to universities. Then we have also in universities to change the mentality and to think something that we have to be of high level, very theoretical, but also to think what will be the job of our students when they will be graduated. Loans for students are easier, but it's very, and the power of presidents is stronger. But the problem, as I told this morning in the general speech, the problem is that the presidents today are elected by professors, senior lecturers, small delegation, but also by representatives of the students and of administrative staff. And the students and administrative staffs are organized in unions, very, very politicized, and minority of people have the power. This is the problem of our democracy. Then what to do in the future? How to promote French higher education in the global competition? First, I think it's necessary to find solutions to create a fusion, to mix completely the dual system, the grandes écoles and universities. We need links, very strong. I tried to do when I was president with École Polytechnique, with HEC. Sorbonne is a humanities university. I think we have something to do with the more technical high schools. We have to promote also research in grandes écoles, in all the grandes écoles. Some have research teams, but some have not. I think it's one day it will be necessary to accept that universities choose their students. We have also, a second reform very important, to promote foreign languages among the French students. This morning I told that for the future of human resources in the world, it's necessary to speak 1, 2, 3, 4 languages, as it was in the European elite 1 century ago or 2 centuries ago. But at the moment, in some countries as Netherlands, as Germany, as, of course, Scandinavian countries, or Korea, because all the students speak 2 languages, it's very common. In some Dutch universities, teaching is only in English, for example. It's not good for the Dutch language, but it's good for the globalization. In France, the students don't speak enough foreign languages. A little bit more than when I was a student myself, but not enough. And my English is very poor, I'm sorry, because of this, because it's not the tradition in France to learn foreign language. We stay in the mind of 18th century, where everybody was speaking French in Europe. You know that the Tsar, the last Tsar of Russia, Nikolai II, was speaking French with his family just before the Russian Revolution. That the King of Italy, during the Mussolini era, during the Second World War, was speaking French with his family. And Mussolini told him, Majesty, you are the King of Italy, not the King of France. Then we stay in this mentality. We have not to speak foreign languages because everybody speaks French. It's not true. Less and less people speak French in the world. It's a pity because it's a beautiful language, but that's why I would like that many people in Emirates, we try to promote French language. I will speak just in a moment. We have to attract also good foreign students in the French higher education. I'm sorry. No, encourage the expatriation of French students. It's a good mean to oblige them to speak foreign languages, to open their mind. This is very good. Attract good foreign students, and you will say, how? Why we will come in France if your system is so bad? Then I tell you, come in the grandes écoles and come in master and PhD. But please don't come in undergraduate years of universities. But graduate years and PhD, and I can say it's very good and interesting, and of course grandes écoles, but not before. At the moment, I hope in 5 years, 10 years, I will be invited in the next forum, the 50th forum, and say, please come in undergraduate in France. And the last thing is to open foreign campuses in selected foreign countries. We have been very lucky because you see here the inauguration by President Sarkozy and Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, who is the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, to create a campus of Sorbonne in humanities, in French, mixed, boys and girls mixed. It's very new for Abu Dhabi, to create this campus 3 years ago. And teaching is only in French. We have a big library, and it's in this country, it's an introduction to my successor. In this country where spoken languages are Arabic and English, the Crown Prince asked to have a place where it's possible to learn French and in French. And maybe there will be in German or in Russian in the future. And the Knowledge Village of Dubai is a place wonderful also. It's introduction for you, because all the languages are spoken on this campus. And this is one of the best solutions for the future, to open mind, to speak several languages, and to have the possibility to put not only techniques in the center of the universities, but also culture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pitt, for your excellent presentation and keeping the time. The issue on equal opportunity and academic excellence in higher education has been hot in Korea too. So we have a lot of things to discuss with him after the presentation of the second paper. Now it's time for second presentations. The second speaker is Ayub Kazim, and his title is Dubai International Academic City is set to accommodate future industrial and economic needs of Dubai. As a leading figure in government and education, Ayub Kazim serves as Executive Director of Dubai Knowledge Village and DIAC, and member of the Dubai Technology and Media Free Zone Authority. Dr. Kazim received his BS from the University of Alabama and PhD from the University of Miami. Dr. Kazim, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It gives me a great pleasure to be here in Seoul for the second time in the Global HR Forum. My presentation this afternoon would focus on the higher education as well as the economic crisis that's impacting most of the countries, if not all the countries in the world. So I will try to relate both into when it comes to the HR world of the HR. I represent Dubai Knowledge Village as well as Dubai International Academic City. Well, Dubai Knowledge Village started almost 5 years ago. Well, exactly 5 years ago. And it was in continuation to the success that we have had with Dubai Internet City and Dubai Media City. Right now, we have around 450 companies operating in DKV. And we are representing various sectors, of course, there in the Knowledge Village, where we have distance learning centers, e-learning providers, executive education centers, human resource development centers, management consultancy and management development centers, research and development centers, assessment and testing centers, and vocational training centers. Besides these HR and professional development centers and assessment centers, we have higher education providers, where we host international higher education providers, universities and colleges coming from various countries, including France, of course. So what we had last year, of course, we had a mix of all of these academic institutions with the or these academic entities. So we wanted to segregate these academic entities by creating a free zone dedicated primarily to host international higher education providers. So that's what led us to create Dubai International Academic City. In terms of the numbers, we have around 30 academic institutions, universities, and these universities come in from various countries, from the US. Of course, we have local schools, Australia, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Iran, Singapore, Russia, Belgium, France, UK, Switzerland, and the list keeps going on and on. In terms of the numbers, we started in 2003 with around 2,000 students, and now, after 5 years, we have around 13,000 students serving the region, where we have over 35% of the students are transnational students. That means students from outside the UAE coming to Dubai to study in our schools. Now, as for the nationalities, of course, these students, they come in from 84 countries. Dubai is, of course, well known of being an international city, where you have a diversification of the nationalities, where we have people coming from more than 202 countries, which is more than the United Nations. So it is a small United Nations, I might call. The programs offered by these academic institutions or international universities and colleges are quite vast in nature, and also they are diversified in nature to cater the needs of the industries as well as the community needs. Programs range from engineering, business, filmmaking and animation, mass communication and media, family, community services, construction management, packaging and supply chain management, IT, as well as focusing on the tourism and hospitality, since this is a very important sector fueling the economy of Dubai. Also in fashion technology as well, we have the French Fashion Design Institute called ESMOD, where they have great programs cater the needs of the students and as well as the community there. Now, we set our strategy we try to make it in line with the strategy that has been set for Dubai 2015. And of course, our role will be to contribution into that, and also to transform Dubai to be a city that is based on knowledge economy by 2020. So the Dubai strategy for 2015 consists of five major streams. The first one would be achieving comprehensive development and building human resources. This is where we come in. Then promoting economic development and government modernization, sustaining growth and prosperity, protecting national interest, public interest and well-being, providing environment conducive for growth and prosperity in all sectors. Now, let's look into this chart. Now, the economy of Dubai has been driven by 6 key sectors. Now, on the horizontal axis, you see the Dubai strength, sectoral strength benchmarked against international standards. And on the, and on the vertical axis, you'll see the pace that this sector is moving globally. So you see it on the upper left corner, you see these circles, I would say sectors, red circles, they are considered to be the hot sectors that are contributing to our economy. And these 6 sectors are namely financial services, professional services, construction, transportation and logistics, trade, and tourism and hospitality. And another emerging sector that's going to, well, we are anticipating is going to play a key role in our economy within 5 years from now, which is going to be communication and media. Now, let's look into oil and gas. Everyone says that Dubai, you have a lot of oil and gas. Unfortunately, we do not have much oil and gas. And the oil and gas contributed only 4% to our GDP last year. So that shows how marginal it is in comparison to other sectors that are contributing to our economy. So our economy is quite diversified in nature, and we are even going further in diversification as the years go by. Now, in order to have a sustainable and healthy growth in your economy, you have to have these enablers to have a sustainable growth in these sectors that are supporting the economy. And there are 7 enablers. I can summarize them here. They're all summarized here. And the first enabler would be creating and developing human capital. And this is where, again, we come in here with Dubai Knowledge Village and Dubai International Academic City in development of human capital. Then achieving high productivity. The third would be promoting science, technology, and innovation. In a fourth enabler would be low cost of doing business and living. Of course, this has been a challenge, not only for Dubai, but also for the region with a high inflation rate we have been experiencing. High quality of life, as well as transparent and effective economic policy. And finally, effective laws and regulations. So through these enablers, we are going to have a sustainable growth in these sectors that are supporting our economy. Now, one thing we have to acknowledge here, in our region, GCC, which is termed the Gulf Cooperation Council, where we have 6 countries, we have, in terms of population, we are very small in population, so we depend heavily on the expatriates or foreign workers. And this is, of course, we have to acknowledge the fact that without their contribution, we wouldn't achieve what we have achieved in terms of the economic and social development. In 2005, in Dubai alone, we had around 850,000 workers. In terms of the structure, the skill level structure, where we have 39% were low-skilled workers, then 41% medium-skilled workers, then 20% were high-skilled workers, where you had executives and the CEOs there. In 2015, the structure might change. It will change of course, once we have intensive programs and also development in human capital, also uplifting the skill sets required to compete in the competitive marketplace. So what we have in 2015, we have double numbered in the quantity, double in the terms of the workforce, where we are going to have around 1.7 million in the workforce. 31% in terms of the structure. Now it's going to change. 31% where we are going to have low-skilled workers, and 44% for the medium-skilled workers, and 25% for the high-skilled workers. Now, looking into that now for the attraction and retention of the employees or the expatriates to the region, it's been quite a challenge sometimes with the economic boom that we have been experiencing over there. So I'm going to at least present that to you, and also later on I'm going to discuss about the global crisis and how it's affecting the economies in our region. Now, when it comes to attraction percentage of GCC-based expats, foreigners outside the country who wish to relocate into, we found out that 66% of the expatriates living outside the UAE would like to go to the UAE to live there and work there. On the other hand, we have in Qatar, for example, 23% of the expatriates living outside Qatar, they expressed their interest of going there to live and work there. Then you have at a lower percentages for Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Oman. So you see how much important it is now in terms of the interest of the expats to go there to the UAE, and Dubai is going to be even higher than that. So when it comes to retention now, retention percentage of expats within the country and who wish to remain in the country, where we have 77% in the UAE, who were expats living in the UAE, and they expressed their interest of staying there. In Kuwait, it was at lower percentage, 58%. Bahrain at 54%. Oman at 46%. Saudi Arabia at 45%. And then finally Qatar at 32%. As I said before, that we have had challenges when it came to the inflation. And as predicted by one of our business partners called Gulf Talent, they have conducted a survey and their studies within the GCC countries with regards to the economy and inflation. This year, the forecast would be we are going to have inflation of around 15.2%, which is on the high side. 15.2%. So, of course, inflation is the cause here now of having a low interest rate and high growth rate in the GDP. So that's why we're having that kind of abnormal abnormal inflation rate percentage. In Qatar, it is 14.2%, Kuwait 13.5%, and similarly in Oman 13.5%. In Saudi Arabia, we had 11.2%, and in Bahrain 9%. Now, what does it translate into when it comes to the inflation? Of course, we have to look into the increase in the cost of goods and services. That means also increase in the salaries for the workforce. So, if you look at the salaries, the basic salary increase for the GCC countries from 2005 to 2008, we'll see that in 2008 we have achieved the highest percentage of in a salary increase in comparison to 2005, where we had only 7% increase. In 2006, it was around 7.9%. Then in 2007 was around 9%. So the increase was quite gradual. That since from 2005 all the way to this year. Now, per country, salary increase per country over the 12 months, up to August 2008, where we had the UAE, we had the highest percentage salary increase of 13.6, followed by Qatar at 12.7%, Oman at 12.1%, Bahrain at 10.5%, Kuwait at 10.1%, and finally Saudi Arabia at 9.8%. And this is where we're talking about retention, having the higher retention, where you have to increase the percentage here of the salaries, the workforce. Now, let's look at the sectoral level here now. What are the sectors that have had the highest salary increase? Construction and properties and real estate, this has been, of course, the highest, 15.1%. Banking and financial institutions, where they had around 12.2%. Retail, around 11.9%. IT, telecommunication, media, and oil and gas were all at 11% increase. Healthcare at 8.1%, and unfortunately, and I'm very sad to say that education was only 7.8%. Now, I have attended the latest meeting of the Economic Intelligence Unit was held 2 weeks ago in Dubai. And they have of course, they drew a very gloomy picture of how things would be in the world. And the world, how chaotic it would be within next 24 months. But also they have highlighted areas where of course, some of the emerging markets, how they're going to perform. So the Middle East and Africa will remain one of the fastest growing regions in the world throughout this slowdown that we are going to experience in the next 24 months, as predicted by the Economist Intelligence Unit. And the Vice President of the Economist Intelligence Unit, he made a presentation, and I'm taking part of what he presented. It was quite fascinating to see their outlook of how things would be. His name was Nenad Patrick. And of course, the Middle East will be the most resilient as long as the price of oil does not collapse. So we are talking in the ballpark of between $50 to $70 per barrel. $50 to $70 per barrel. So this is the price level that will sustain the economy of these countries. And of course, domestic demand will be driven by continued government spending on the infrastructure and diversification of the economy. Now, what will be the impact on the UAE, on our country? Now, the UAE's growth rate, expected growth rate, as per the Economist Intelligence Unit, would be around 4.9 in comparison to the predicted to 7.5% due to two major factors. First one will be Abu Dhabi will have to cut the oil production. And the second one would be the slowdown in the services and the construction sectors in Dubai. And of course, the government will be forced to at least have to take some measures to finance the infrastructure and also to sustain the industrial growth there in the country. And Dubai is going to be the most exposed with a high level of corporate debt maturing in 2009, and it might require some federal support and state support. At the best case scenario, we are going to have lower economic growth rate as predicted, 4.9, which is not bad at all. I'm going to show you the next slide how things would be. 4.9 is quite good. Still, it's very good. And at the worst case scenario, it will force the construction and real estate and the infrastructure development. Now, looking at the Middle East, where you see at the lower end before, well, you see the growth rate for the next 4 years, as projected by the Economist Intelligence Unit. We are going to have around 4 times higher than the world average. Still, the growth rate is going to be 4 times higher than the world's average. Now, looking at North America, of course, everybody's talking about recession is going to happen. Western Europe, the same trend. Transition economies and emerging markets are going to have a strong growth rate. Still, they're supposed to have higher, reaching into double digits, but with the current economic crisis, it will reach to be around 4 to 5% per year. So this is the way it looks. It's going to be very gloomy. Now, how can we translate that into the world of the HR? We are going to see now around, within the next 12 months, we are going to see around 20 million people losing their jobs in the world. 20 million people are going to lose their jobs. And we are going to see a reverse migration of the talent here now. Where we had in the region, in the GCC countries, we have experienced, well, what we have is a war for talent in the GCC countries or in our region. Now we are going to be a little bit taking a much more comfortable position where we are going to see a reverse migration of the talent coming from the developed countries to our region. So in comparison, as predicted by the Economist Intelligence Unit, they are predicting like around 300,000 workers, talented workers, leaving the developed, underdeveloped, and third world countries to the developed countries. But on the other hand, around 1.2 million talented workers will be leaving the developed countries to the emerging markets. So this is what I'm talking about the reverse migration of the talent. With this, I would conclude my presentation, and I will be glad to take any questions or comments that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kazim. I think that the development of DIAC is an example of a creative idea and promising the future of Dubai. Now it's a time for panel discussion. The panelist of this session is Charles Goldman. He is a senior economist and associate director at Rand Corporation, specializing in the economics of corporations. He and several colleagues are currently leading a large effort to reform the corporation system of the state of Qatar. Dr. Goldman earned a BA in Computer Science and Engineering from the MIT and a doctorate in Economic Analysis and Policy from Stanford University Graduate School of Business. Dr. Goldman, please.
Thank you very much. And I want to start my brief comments by thanking both of our presenters for very thorough and thought-provoking presentations. I would like to draw out a few general themes about higher education that I thought we might all use in an open discussion with our presenters. I think we should remember that higher education is a very long established system. Then institutions tend to be rather traditional and slow to change. And as Dr. Pitt reminded us, his university, the University of Paris, 750 years old. So in general, we don't see quick changes in higher education. Yet at the same time, in recent decades, there have been a number of important forces that have been acting on higher education. And I would like to mention four of those forces very briefly. First, the increasing role of the market. Second, internationalization. Third, changing patterns of access to higher education. And fourth, the issues of preparation for higher education. And we saw each of these themes referenced in either or both of our presenters' remarks. The market is impacting higher education institutions around the world. And we see institutions in various ways responding to market forces, and in some cases adopting more market-based organizations internally within the organization of higher education. Now, we don't see that everywhere, and particularly more prestigious institutions tend to be more insulated from market forces, whereas less prestigious institutions are often compelled to go where the market takes them. And in Dr. Ayoub's presentation, we saw the Dubai International Academic City as a really good example of the increasing effect of the market on higher education institutions. You can see these institutions coming from all around the world to locate in Dubai. And there are other projects as well in the Gulf and in other regions where universities typically from more established systems are coming into the developing world or into the emerging economies in order to provide a greater access to international style higher education. One of the concerns that the market often expresses to higher education is the employability of the graduates. Are the graduates of these programs being equipped with the kinds of knowledge and skills that they need to take their place in the economy? And we hear often referenced skills like critical thinking, problem solving, communication skills, as well as the different academic disciplines which are extremely important around the world. Universities around the world are struggling with often the right balance between responding to short-term forces in the employment markets versus the need to maintain their core educational values. And my third point relates to access, and we see in different countries changing patterns of access. Dr. Pitt's presentation was very interesting to me because the case of France is the most unusual one, where the universities have an open, essentially open admission practice or policy. And this is, as Dr. Pitt pointed out, this is at odds with the experience of almost every other prestigious national system, where the most prestigious universities enjoy the greatest ability to select their students. We see access also playing out in the Dubai example. The academic city is providing access to an entire population that until recently had no local options for international style higher education. And now already there are 30 universities offering programs there. The last point I'd like to make is that there's a often discussed concern related to how the primary and secondary education system is preparing students for all of these opportunities in higher education. And I think in the case of France and in the case of Dubai, there are always concerns related to the preparation. And so as we think about the globalization of higher education, the increasing aspect of market forces, the changing pattern of access, I think we also have to reflect on how the primary and secondary system are working with the tertiary system around the world in order to prepare students to take advantage of these opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Goldman. We have more than 20 minutes, so we have enough time to discuss. And I would like to ask for questions and comments from the audience now. If you have a question or a comment, please raise your hand and some staff will carry the microphone to you. And please identify yourself first. The lady in the first floor. Microphone.
일단 저는 순수한 청중은 아니고요. 이번 행사를 취재하고 있는 한국경제신문사의 문혜정 기자입니다. 브리프한 답변을 주시면 좋을 것 같습니다. 기본적으로 선발권에 대한 문제인데요. 프랑스가 선발권을 유니버시티에 주지 않는 분명한 이유가 있을 텐데, 또는 선발권이 갖고 있는 장점과 단점이 있을 텐데, 사실은 한국 대학들도 굉장히 큰 문제거든요. 얼마만큼 대학들이 자율적으로 대학이 추구하는 이념에 맞는 학생들을 선발할 것이냐. 좀 더 확대해 보면 기업이 될 수도 있고 또 다른 오거니제이션이 될 수도 있는데, 휴먼 리소스를 디벨롭하는 가장 초기 단계인 그런 셀렉션이 갖는 의미, 또는 그것이 왜 중요하다고 저는 사실 개인적으로 보는데, 전 세계적인 유수한 대학들이 또 그렇게 하고 있고요. 프랑스 대학이 세계 순위에서 사실상 굉장히 좀 밀려나 있는 이유도 최근에는 그런 것 같은데, 좀 셀렉션의 문제에 대해서 설명해 주십시오. 질문은 저희 예.
Yes, thank you for your question. I give the precisions. There are two official reasons. The first one is the law. Since Napoleon, 2 centuries ago, the baccalaureate allows to come in university. It's the law. It's difficult to change. The politics never wanted to change. Second official reason, more politic, for the opinion. It's in order to give a chance to everybody. It's a kind of political correctness, I should say. The poor students coming from not wealthy families, who are not very, very educated, they must have the chance to come in university and to have success. Of course, most of them fail because the selection is made before university for the best pupils of high schools who are allowed to go in the system of Grandes Écoles, and nobody complains against this system, which is a very good system, except the research, I told it. And the problem is that universities, of course, select, but they select by failure. They select by negatively. It's catastrophic, between 50 and 70%, and in medicine, 90%. Everybody can come in Faculty of Medicine in France. But at the end of the first year, there is an official competition, and only 10% of the students can come in the second year. Then there is a selection, but a progressive selection. And for most of the young people, and the common opinion in France, if there is a selection at the entrance, it is bad for democracy, it is bad for the poor, it is bad for the not so clever students, but a little bit sleeping when they are in high school, and maybe they will have chance to awake when they come in university because they will have good professors, and it's really politically correctness. That's why I am so against this stupid system, and I prefer much more the system of Britain, of Germany, of course Denmark, Netherlands. The only countries similar to France are Mediterranean European countries. We have quite the same in Italy, in Spain, and in Portugal. But it's changing. In Spain, it's changing. There is a hierarchy of universities. There is also in France, but at the level of master. Of course, a master of Sorbonne, I'm sorry to take my example, has a higher level than a master of a small city of La Rochelle in western France. It's evidently, because the good academics don't want to be professors in a small city. They want to be in the 10 first universities in France, but not in undergraduates. This is I don't know if I answered to your question, but this is the problem of France. And also, I say also, the big conservatism of the French academics, right and left side, confused, the same.
Is it enough to your question?
Yes, thank you, but sounds like a little bit inefficient to understand the education system in France.
I propose to reunify the Korean system with the French system. Maybe if your Minister of Higher Education becomes our minister, maybe it will change.
Is there anyone?
Thank you for taking part in this wonderful ceremony and the HR forum. You are presenter and just Mr. Kim. And I'm a Hanyang University student in Korea. Maybe it would be practical for all of here, and maybe it would be better for me to just ask a question to you. That my major is business management, and also when I was studying just business management in just Hanyang University, I thought that I want to just go to just graduate school for just financial engineering. It's really interesting. When I'm just studying more and more, it became really fascinating. Yeah. So I want to just ask you some questions that. So when I just searching for some good graduate school in the world, I thought that it would be better for me to go to America. Yeah, that there's a good college, good university that NYU and Carnegie Mellon University. So I'm just I was planning to go there, but when I just saw the tuition, it was really enormous. Yeah, it was really burden for me to just go there. If I just work here over 3 years in corporation, I can't gather that kind of amount of money. So yeah, I want to ask you.
You come in France.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So I want to ask you a question that you all presented that how could the government cope with the problems of high tuition, even though the most students would like to go to America or any other foreign country, but the high tuition fee would be real problem for all the students there, right? And also, how could the government help the students who want to go to abroad for their master or PhD degree? Yeah, it's my question.
Well, maybe if I can be permitted, let me ask you a follow-up question. This is a serious question. Why do you think the government should help you earn a graduate degree? And then maybe we can answer the question about what the best way to do it is. And the reason I'm asking the question is because I think that government policy should be derived from social objectives.
All right. For that thing, it's really necessary for the government to raise the best students for the government and for the country development, and also it's not, you cannot detach between the education and the government system, right? So yeah, it's not mandatory for government to just help the university and PhD as such as those kind of things, but when you are asking that kind of question, I'm really confused. But yeah, there's no mandatory thing. But for the country's development, I'm just asking you that for country's development, how could the government do for that? Yeah, if you have any thinking or opinions for that, I want to just share that things with you, and I want to just find a way that I could go America for studying financial engineering. That's enough. Yeah.
I think you should take advantage of Dr. Pitt's offer to come to France and allow the French taxpayers to fund your.
Oh, no. My dream is that French universities also receive a lot of money from the students. So I want to increase the rate. No, but more seriously, of course, it's stupid to have something free of charge because everything has a cost. If the family or the students don't pay, of course, the state has to pay. And where the state finds money? In France, we have 50% of the gross power to the state. It's the highest level of taxes in the OECD countries. But no, more seriously, I should say that and it's a Confucian idea, the only good investment for a country, for a family, for a clever student as you are, open mind, is education. Then if you are poor, if you are of a poor family, please loan money. You will find banks, maybe wait till some weeks, because at the moment the banks don't want to rent a lot of money, except maybe in Dubai. But loan money, and it's a very, very good investment. Please, do it.
Let me add one thing here now. The increase in cost of the tuition and fees really in our region is, as I have highlighted here, the inflation. Have you looked at the inflation rate here? Quite alarming. That's why, and also you are paying for the brand name. Carnegie Mellon, London School of Business. 90% of the tuition goes to the branding of the school. The 10% goes to the program, 90%. So if you're going to London School of Business or Carnegie Mellon or even MIT, of course you're paying for the brand name.
Sorry, thank you. Want to take this opportunity, having all of you here as a panelist. I'm a product of the old school of university, where we believe in, or rather, universities are there to produce moral and intellectual excellence, right? Now, the current trend of the 21st century is the fact that university is changing its focus, or rather being more marketable, okay? In a sense that somehow the orientation to higher education is more on the graduateness, the marketability of the graduate. Now, I just want your opinion, okay? All the speakers, if possible. Do you see there is a conflict between what the higher education, or rather the philosophy of the universities, in producing moral and intellectual, excellence of the students, with regard to the current trend of producing the marketability graduate? That's all. Thank you.
I don't know if it's a good response. I think the universities in the world have, of course, to follow the market partly, to be close the employment market, and of course to accept students in different courses in relation with the possibility for these students to find a job when they are graduated. But university have also, since middle age, another function is to create knowledge. And create knowledge has in all fields, has no relation with the market. And we have, this is the difficulty of all universities in the world, in all the countries, to mix these two necessary vocations. But of course, if we give the privilege to one, and if we neglect the second, it's catastrophic. Then we have to imagine how to create knowledge for the future, because the knowledge of the end of this century is not written. Then we have to be very performant in creativity, research, but also be sure that our students will find a job when they are here.
Dr. Kazem, could you respond?
Yes, I don't know if it's going to be a response, but let me just say that, you know, higher education is not the same as it used to be 20 or 30 years ago, not even 10 years ago. Now, the universities were under the perception 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, under the perception that students will be coming to them. That's not the case now. You have to go to the students, because now the students have the power. Now, you have to market your goods, whether you like it or not, whether you are an Ivy League or not. You have to do that. And also, I don't want to give an example, but we have great schools in Qatar Foundation in Doha, 6 great schools, considered to be the best of the best. And I'm very sad to say that not many people know about these great schools that they are existing in Doha. Not too many. If you conduct a survey, then you will find out that not many students and parents know that there are great schools in Doha. So marketing plays a key role. So the universities have to be very active in marketing and branding themselves. And also to at least go international. We are living in the world of globalization. If you look into the ranking of the universities, for example, by Times Higher Education, we sponsor the QS Times Higher Education. They base their assessment on 4 key criteria. One of them is internationalization. If you don't take your brand outside your country, that's it. You are taking out one criteria out. One criteria. You're taking it out and you are left with 3 to be assessed. So internationalization plays a key role, and through that you have to do the marketing and promotion and branding. Yes. I don't know if I answered your question, but this is the way.
Yeah, I'd just like to respond a little bit to the question about the role of employability, which I addressed in my discussion. If we go back far in history, the university was almost a place of pure knowledge creation and learning, and not a place where students went to be prepared for employment. That's a relatively modern notion. And a lot of people criticize the overemphasis on preparation for employment. And I agree that both missions need to be served in a great university. But I think what some critics neglect is that the change in universities toward more practical and employable skills, I think strongly benefits access by poorer segments of the society. Because if the university remains a place of a kind of pure knowledge creation and learning, really it's only the rich who can afford for their children to spend their time in that pursuit, unless the society can somehow support those people. And by opening up to these market forces, I think, as Dr. Pitt said, not completely opening up, not abandoning every core value of the university, this actually benefits a much wider segment of people in individual societies, and I think as Dr. Ayoub's example shows, the academic city is opening up access to this kind of education to a much wider group of people around the world.
Yes, one more question. Come the front side and take the microphone. Yeah. Come front side and take the microphone. This is the last question.
Hello, I'm an undergrad from the Yonsei University. So I'm really interested about your worldwide opinion about the segregation within the university and the leading university. But I just wonder, I also know about the segregation within the university. We already know they have a lot of hierarchy system in university ability, but in Korea we have a lot of like problem in humanitarian departments such as like English literature and Korean literature like that is really it's really sad, like they on the crisis, like comparing with the practical skills just as said like business department. So can you give us such like harmonized method to give us to harmonize between the humanitarian department with the practical skill department, because it's really important in not only for Korea but also the worldwide situation. So can you give us some perspectives or some method to harmonize that problem?
Thank you for your questions. And who is responsible for the questions?
I'm not sure I can answer so precisely, but in my university in Sorbonne, I tried. It's not so easy with the colleagues, but I tried to tell to my colleagues, please keep the Latin teaching, the Greek, old Greek teaching and philosophy and epistemology, but also to the same students you teach Greek, Latin, literature of Middle Age and 16th century, or poesy, or theater of 17th century. You must learn also foreign languages, a little bit of management, how to redact a curriculum, to oblige them to make training during holidays, even to work one day a week in a company without any relation with Latin poesy or Korean literature, but to oblige them to have the head in the stars and in the clouds and the feet on the earth. Because the students, even, mainly in humanities, when they are clever and open mind, they don't want to see the reality. They say, even if they are not from wealthy family, oh, I don't think to my job, I'm not interested by concrete life. I have a passion for literature, I have a passion for philosophy, and that's enough. We will see after, when I will be 25, 28, 30, I will see. And many of our students, not so many, but some of our students finish a very good PhD. They are 29, they are 30, and then they have no idea of their job after. It's too late. Then I think we have to learn to our students and even to the high school pupils to have a project of profession, even if this project changes when they are becoming older. But if they have no idea of concrete professional project, I think it's bad even for the pure humanities. It's very important to mix both way of education. Maybe you.
We know the best way. That is to change the faculty members of human literature department and etc. But we can do it. So usually the faculty member belong to the humanity science are resistance to change. Every faculty members are resistant to change.
Even in Korea? Even in Korea?
More severe in humanity science. So we know the way how to we change it. But as you know, the tenure system of faculty member, we can do it. That's a problem. And you can think about the way how we overcome this problem. Please let me know the way. Do you have any comment? Okay. I would like to close this session by thanking all the speakers and particularly those who stayed to the end of this session. Thank you very much.